All right, 10th place solo racer Joff Spencer Jones of the UK is on his way to the finish. We're thinking he is about 5 minutes out, so if you could gather over here at the finish chute in the next couple of minutes, that would be great to welcome him in. He started back June 14th and has been riding for 11 days, 19 hours, and 8 minutes. That's his official finish time. He finished out at the Ram's Head Bar, and it's 5 miles, sorry, mandatory ride into City Dock here at our finish arch for the racers to be official. So again, Joff Spencer Jones of the UK, 10th place overall solo, 9th place in the male division, and yep, we would certainly like as many of you cheering him in as possible. So thanks so much. First place team came in Thursday, 5 days, 2 hours. First place male came in yesterday at 10 days, 15 minutes. And then the first place female was 10:04. Probably 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. That's the official cutoff. And right now that rider is right on track to take every second. How many do you have out there? How many riders? Not a much. I think there's 5 solos and about 10 teams. Odd year. We just did not have a lot of middle speed teams this year that would have normally finished yesterday. There's just a lot at the back end. No idea what happened. Latest report on our solo racer from the UK, Joff Spencer Jones, is that he is at the Church Street Circle. He'll be turning onto Green Street very soon, and much of that is a descent, so riders are moving a little bit quicker, and then it's a short jaunt over to the parking lot. And as long as the parking lot isn't too packed, he'll get right through here to the finish chute. So again, please stick around and welcome Joff Spencer Jones to the finish. Ha, I'm feeling like myself again. It's amazing what a couple of 15-minute naps up on stage can do. Although I should probably change my clothes in the somewhat near future. Yeah, just not the dead sleep deprived version. Now it's the wow, I think I'm funny sleep deprived.
I don't think I know you any other way.
What was what? 3, 4 years ago, we were singing in the rain.
Yeah, that's the only way I know you is on 2 hours of sleep. Have you had good weather for this finish line, pretty much?
Yeah. It was raining when we got here on Thursday, into Thursday afternoon, and the weather forecast kept saying it was going to clear up. Beamer came in, it was overcast and nice,
Yeah.
and no rain since.
Nice. Maybe tonight, though, huh?
All right, I see Jeff Magnuson, race director, and that signal means Joff Spencer Jones is now in the parking lot on his way to the finish line. Please head on over here if you can, or yell really loud from where you're seated, because I know you don't want to lose your shade. And here they come. Again, he started racing on June the 14th. Finish time is 11 days, 19 hours, and 8 minutes. The clock never stops for these guys. It's always going. So, oh, here he is looking pretty good. Oh, might be pausing to freshen up before he comes around the corner. So a lot of times when the riders stop right there, it's just to get their support crews down so they can welcome them in or even accompany them down the finish chute. So the ride is not unsupported. Each racer has a crew vehicle that gives them food and water because they can't sleep very much. The relay teams are always moving. The solo racers take anywhere from 90 minutes to 3 hours of sleep a day. Here we go. Do we need a little help getting him over that top tube?
You did a fantastic job at this.
Oh, thank you.
You're obviously
Thank you very much. crew, could you please rack his bike here at the rack attack and remove his helmet? David Jones, how are you? Could you please remove Joff's helmet? Helmet on. I was hoping the crew would help you with that, because I know that's not. Can you help him remove his helmet? He struggled enough. Come on, let's put our hands together and big cheer for Joff Spencer Jones. Rick Bothling got his finisher's medal. I don't think I've ever seen Roth over the split seat. No, stay there, because he's got another one. All right, crew, could you come up and join your racer? Show off. Joff, did they put some beer in there for you? Or are you still?
Not yet. No, it was a request. Yeah, when do we officially be not part of the rule?
As soon as you and I hit the chairs.
Squeeze in, guys.
Come on, another big cheer for this guy. He just rode 3,037 miles.
Actually, Dave, you're going to go back to the van.
Joff Spencer Jones. How does it feel, Joff, to be a solo finisher?
Well, it's not really sunk in yet. It's been many, many years in the making to try and get here. So it's to sort of have the 12 days of putting it all into place, and just this little journey down here, and I think we'll reflect on it a bit later, and it'll sink in, I'm sure.
So solo rookie this year. What you have finished, RAAM, though, in the past on relay teams. Which divisions have you done? Let's hold on for the speedboat. There we go.
Yeah, we came first in 2010 as a team of 8, and it was more of a, dare I say it, a fun thing to do. We were doing it for a charity in the UK. So we did that, and it was only really when I sat on Oceanside and realised that there were solos, pairs, and other, fours. We were just focused on trying to understand the rules and do it from non-cycling. So I really only started cycling properly in 2010. And then we came back 2 years later, 3 from the 8 and one of the crew, and did it as a team of 4. And for me, it was just, I kept turning it over in my head, thinking, solo? I kept doing the numbers. What have you got to do to be a solo finisher? And just kept looking, tracking each year, watching what people were doing, starting to look at the training. And you can't just step out and think you can do it in 1 or 2 years. You've got to set this task 6, 7 years sometimes, and build up to it and understand the things that can go wrong and how you overcome them. So I just went away and thought about it.
10 years, really, since you first got the notion of possibly going solo.
Yeah, literally 10 years. And I entered a race in 2013, which was my first ultra, and it was, I'd never done anything in between. It was my first, and it was 900 miles. So it was a big step to go from, it's a very big step. And I learned a lot from it. I did plenty of things wrong, but you learn more from the mistakes you make, And I just built on it from there, and did some, well-known European sort of Audax races as well. And they're a good foundation for ultra distance, because they're always around, and plenty, there's plenty that you can use as training bases.
So how were you able to prepare for the desert? It wasn't grotesquely hot this year. It was low hundreds, but that's really hot when the temperatures that you're used to training in are, 20, 30 degrees less than that.
Well, yeah, in the UK, I mean, we go into meltdown when it's 28 to 32 degrees. We just don't, we're not geared up for anything hotter. And I came, I had my eye on RAAM, but I thought, well, in 2018 I came to do RAW, because really the real challenge is in the real challenge of RAAM. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot more afterwards, yeah, but the weather is in that first 2 days. And I had a bad experience with not getting my hydration right. And I managed to finish, and it wasn't, it was ugly and messy, but we got over the line and got a finishers. And I went away, got a sweat test, and got all the things done to measure me. It's a bit like you can buy an off-the-peg suit, or you can go and have a made-to-measure. So I went and got the made-to-measure, got it all worked out. Was aiming to come here in 2020 to do it, and of course, everything came to a standstill. Then we thought, well, it was too risky for us. We couldn't travel to the US in 21, so here we are, first shot at it. And
were your crew all rookies, or were some of them from your early on teams? Were any of them from your Race Across the West adventure?
Yeah, Tim, my crew chief, has been brilliant. I've raced he's crewed when we did it in 2010. Then he came and joined us as a team of 4. He's a good cyclist in 2012, and then he crew chief for me in RAW in 2018. And when we discussed RAAM, he just said, "I'm in." And I think, what better? You can't ask for more commitment. My wife also. She's She's been on all the crossings with me. And Dave, the mechanic, he's been on 3 now. So you've got to stick. It's great to integrate some rookies because you can't always bring back exactly the same team, but you've got to have some consistency and hopefully, you know, Trevor's done 1.5. You're only getting the half of this, mate. So he joined us in St. Louis this year because his son was getting married, so he flew and joined us for the last 4 days, 4-5 days. So yeah.
Well, Tim, you know, when Joff and I were talking before we kind of went live, you thought we were talking about his feet, but he was really saying that he would pay Tim back by crewing for him when Tim went solo in 2023. So, okay. I'm grossly lying too. So let's talk about your feet. That feet can be a huge issue in this sport, and you were having some trouble with them on day 1.
Yeah, towards the end of day 1, because as you know, you drop down the famous glass elevator and you hit Borrego Springs, and by the time you've been stamping on the pedals for about 2.5 hours on the desert floor, you know, you're going to get a little bit of a reaction from your feet. And I kept trying to think soft feet, soft pedal, but it just couldn't stop. So at every timing station, I was stopping, put the feet in, and it gave them enough recovery to put the shoes back on and go to the next station.
About how long were your stops on those?
We as part of the plan was to have a stopwatch running, as most crews do, and we were stopping for maybe 20 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer. If I was going to sleep as well, then I found it easier to eat and do my feet and those sort of things with the RV, but then I would then get straight back on my bike and cycle, and then I would pull over with the SUV, the follow vehicle, and I would sleep in that sometimes because it was easier, because it was less busy for the resting crew, you know, so it worked quite well.
So you were able to take care of that issue. Anything else on you break down at all, aside from that Rafa split seam?
Yeah. Well, actually, there was an incident, and you know, I got in the US. You've got the rumble strips, haven't you, that are pressed into the concrete? Yeah, and you don't want to get on them. And I was coming round Bloomington, is it, in Ohio, and that's quite a busy road. And I can't decide whether it was intentional because he thought maybe I shouldn't be there, but the route said I should be there. But I was going on a downhill. There was Arm Cove, and a lorry just kind of like left me on the rumbles. I had nowhere to go, and it was quite a bit traumatic. And I was probably doing about 30, and literally my shoulder went, my back went off. My back's quite bad at the moment, and everything just went into like a seizure. And I carried on cycling, had a bit of downtime, and then we went and we started off cycling from, how do you pronounce it? Chillicothe? Yeah, Chillicothe. We went we ended up having to stop 44 miles out from Chillicothe, and we then had to go back in the car because there was a physio from another solo rider that was prepared to come and have a look at me. Yeah, so that was really good. So what was her name? Marie Michelle. She was part of Sebastian's team, French-Canadian, and she was really good, and she checked me over for over an hour, and there was no real damage, but, you know, she said the pelvic girdle had shifted and twisted a little bit, and, you know, that was 250 miles from the finish, so it was a little bit of a, you know, struggle.
And that happens 250 miles from the finish when you're coming into the hardest terrain on the route.
Oh. Yeah, I know. I mean,
tell me something obvious, George. Right?
Don't they know it? And it was just roller after roller. But the only way I could do it was just to pop it in the easiest gear and just spin up and down. Not try and be clever. Not try and put too much power. If I tried to put too much power, it just wouldn't go through my hips. And you know, you lose a little bit of time, but at the end of the day, that's what I came here for. Whether it
Were there any concerns with that going into that section of the course that you might be getting close to the cutoff?
Yes, very much so. And Tim did a great job. Before this happened, I think we had 13 hours. I think we had about 13 hours advantage, so we were quite comfortable. And I knew we would lose a little bit going into the Appalachians, but certainly not that much. So it was a bit of a concern. But even when it got down to an hour, Tim kept saying, "You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine." And actually, we came in, we built a margin back up again. So yeah. So yeah, I think, didn't we? Lack of sleep, yeah. But you know, this is all the things that you train with and around that make you, you know, just switch on a little bit. And the crew did a fantastic job, and it was just all you know, all hands on deck, you know.
Congratulations on a fantastic race. Really great, amazing job, crew. Well done, Tim, everyone else. And wow. I hope you can get some really good rest tonight with no traumatic dreams or anything about, oh my gosh, I got to go ride.
Well, if we're off of the rule book, I think it's a beer, isn't it, guys? Oh, and that was the other thing. The
hallucinations?
I'm going to look back on this and not quite know what was hallucinations and what was real, because everything was just molding into one, you know, and it you know.
Very well. We'll have to have a discussion about those sometime.
It's bonkers, isn't it? Yeah.
I had a non-existent person ride up next to me during a race and say, you know, you look bad. I'll ride your bike in for you. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do? And he said, all you got to do is think of your daughter.
Really?
3 hours. 3 hours. And my pace went from below 10 miles an hour to 25.
Wow.
No kidding. The hallucinations are bizarre. But what a good friend.
At night, the follow vehicle makes... You hear the noise when it's on the rumble strip and it's on the dirty part of the fog line. And mine, I won't go into it, but it was making all these noises. And of course, it projects the shadow of me through my legs. And all you see are these two legs and pedals going up and down. And I had this thing that some bloke was chasing me with a tomahawk with this, and because one wheel was in the gravel and one wasn't, I'd worked out that I thought he had one slipper on and one slipper off, and that went on for ages. And I kept thinking, you know, I'm sharing this with people. They're going to lock me up in a minute. They're going to take me.
Did it make him go faster because he was being chased, though? Yeah.
But you know, you can't make that stuff up, can you? You can't make that stuff up, and
you don't know. Maybe he's actually seeing what's actually there.
But you'll look back on it and with fond memories and wonder what part was real and what. Yeah, we'll look back on it with fond memories, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, again, congratulations on a great race, and glad you made some new friends. And, not even going to ask about seeing you back next year or, you know, in the future, but hopefully we will hear from you and see you again.